She corpse exploded. The corpse of the stream. Is that what I just read? What the?
Oh, damn.
All right, we're back. So, State of Exile
Take two.
podcast, episode 17, take 2. Etup, the king of crabs, the slayer of
Sleep.
Got it.
Yes.
All right. So today our special guest is Etup. He's here. He was the first level 100 and beyond the hardcore setting in Path of Exile during this 3-month race, which is pretty crazy. Also, we're going to be discussing what? We're going to State of Two-Handers, the elemental versus physical meta, the hopes for upcoming patch notes, and then the melee versus ranged. We'll also be doing a Q&A, and with the Q&A, you guys just go ahead and chat there. Just put Q&A at whoever, question, whatever you guys have to ask us, and we will have it, put it in a Google Doc and go over it at the end. So today, what are we talking about? Let's see, the introduction. What's everyone up to? Pox. Again, what were you up to, man?
Alright, so I've been playing a hybrid summoner, kind of something a little different. It uses life and energy shield as its main source of effective HP, and I was running a 78 palace map the other day with like a 95% cold damage mod, and silly, I walked into a room with, I don't know the exact exile's name, most people call her Natalie, Antley, Napor, something like that. She's the one that uses like Vol Burning Arrow, Lightning Arrow, and stuff like that, Elemental Weakness. And I walked into her face in a doorway with about 65 minions behind me, and she shotgunned me with her Lightning Arrow, and like every ricochet explosion you could imagine hit me in my face, and I took about like 8,993 damage or something exactly. I was frozen, shock stacked, and chilled because of the damage mod. And I was just like, did that really just happen? So that goes to show you. What's up?
How did you take that much damage? You're like a hybrid character with like 10k?
You got crit.
Effective life.
Yeah, it rolled a crit, so everything crit, and you know like how the explosions kind of work with Lightning Arrow. I was like, like because we had summon raging spirits behind me, my zombies behind those, and then animate weapons behind that, and it was literally just like I was in front of everything. So like the blowback explosion was just like no. And it was very scary. But
does your character have like 9k effective HP?
Oh, I have like
100 or something.
I had like 9,800 at the time or something.
Okay.
But also I was in like on top of that I was like in a doorway, so it hit all around. So like the way Lightning Arrow kind of works, it can explode off of the surroundings. So I literally just got exploded in that one little section. It was entirely like a misplay on myself, and it was out of position. But now I've kind of done something a little different, which is going to sound really weird to most people, but I realized like I can get so much more damage by changing my build-up. So now I'm running Purity of Elements and Discipline off of Life in a shield. I completely forgot what the shield is called.
Prismatic Guardian.
Prism Guardian. Prism Guardian. And I'm running on my gloves, I'm running Generosity with Haste Hatred with reduced mana. And it's really interesting because I'm reserving my life, but I'm not a low life build because I'm not, I don't want to pay for Chevrons, and I don't want to use Solaris. So I'm at like 68% Chaos Resist with like 1.6k life unreserved, running with like 7.2k ES. And I mean, I'm almost level 91, and I haven't really had any issue from Chaos damage, haven't had any Chaos damage scares except for like powerful crits Alchemists with like a damage map. And so far the build's been pretty good. I was very happy. I'm not too like hardcore of a player myself. I kind of just play for fun. I don't really always have the racing mentality or whatnot. But for me, I finally got to kill Palace Dominus for the first time. Like by myself, I went in solo and killed him, and I was like, wow. Like I'm too scared to attempt them. It's like there's really not much risk versus reward, but there was no risk, and it was just all reward aside from the time. And it was a lot of fun. I really like this build because it doesn't have any mitigation, but when it comes to bosses, I can take such a large hit. So if I were to make a misplay or be out of position, I can take that hit, which I think it's really suited to my playstyle, so I really enjoy it. But yeah. What about you, Ziggy?
So it's only been a week since the last podcast, but I've been pretty busy in that time. I hit 90 on my first ever hardcore character, 90 on the Tornado Puncture Shot character, so that was pretty cool because I kind of set a goal to do it once I realized how much I like the character. Usually I get to like the mid-80s and then I'm like, yeah, I'm done reroll. Sleep. I can't do the push to 100. I mean, I'm not going to be pushing to 100. That's like more grind than I can sort of handle, even when I really like a build. This has been my favorite build of all time. Tornado Shot Puncture is just like, oh, heaven. So good. The best, most fun I've ever had in Path of Exile. So the push to 90 was relatively easy, actually, and I'm already found myself at like 90 and a half, and I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be stopping this character now, but I keep going. But that's been really fun. So because I kind of reached that goal, I'm now on the quest for Valhalla, basically. I think when you have a hardcore character that you're pretty much done with, you shouldn't leave it to rot. That's hell for a hardcore character. Hardcore characters are made to die. That is the hardcore dream, at least in my opinion. And if I'm gonna have my hardcore character die, I want it to be in the most epic fashion possible. So I've been doing like every unique map and every crazy map I could do. I did like double extra damage, Crematorium Fire Fury. That was pretty awesome. I've done like all of the maps. My favorite by far so far has been Death and Taxes. Have you guys done Death and Taxes?
I've not.
I'm not.
I did 6 or 7 this league.
Nice,
and
man. They're pretty cheap, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I had a bunch from leveling. I was just saving them for attempting them because apparently it's pretty easy on Mjolnir. But I did eat a Flame Blast once for around like 6k or something like that.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get hit by any Flame Blasts. So yeah, those of you guys who don't know what Death and Taxes is, it's the raid boss of Path of Exile, basically. It's a map that's only got a boss in it. There's no other mobs in there. There's like, it spawns some ads, but there's no other mobs in there apart from the boss. And you go in and there's... it spawns in 3... I don't want to spoil too much, I guess, but it spawns in 3 different elemental forms, and then at the end you fight it, like, being all forms at once. So you fight, like, this multi-phase boss, and it is so much fun. Oh my god, that was, like, one of the most, like, intense, awesome moments. In my mind, it was... I don't know, it's, like, on the level of Ansari, I guess. I don't know if it's better or worse than Ansari. Maybe just because it's fresh in my mind, but... damn, that was so much fun. And it's so cheap in Beyond League because no one wants to do it because it's just not worth the risk. But the loot you get from that is legit as well. Usually you like do these bosses and you get no loot and you're like, well, that was a letdown. But this is like, this guy drops 4 times massive loot explosions. So if you can handle it and if you can take that risk, it's a pretty cheap one to do in hardcore, and it's good fun too. So yeah, the one that I found really challenging was the ice form. He does this big ice nova constantly, spams it like 4 times in a row, and that chunks really hard and does pretty nasty freezes and stuff. But so far, despite doing these things, I haven't been able to die, so I don't know what's going on with that. But if nothing else works, I'll go do answer and probably die because I'm pretty inexperienced with that fight. But it should be good.
So Etup, what are you doing right now? I know you're playing Ice Nova. What's going on after that?
Yeah, I was playing Ice Nova. It's pretty ridiculous, but a lot better than I thought it was gonna have single target issues, but it was pretty strong. I was pretty happy with it, and then I killed myself to reflect because, yeah.
Ice Nova killed itself to reflect. What?
Usually I bring this up once an episode. Did you kill Piety Unlinked with Ice Nova?
I actually forgot to take my gems out. So.
Oh man. So Ice Nova, is it actually like pretty solid nowadays? Like,
I didn't do any partying, but I honestly, with all crit builds, I feel like they're pretty good in groups, just because, you know, like I'm like in a 73 map or whatever I was doing. I mean, I'm overkilling most mobs by a ton, so I'd say it would probably work out pretty well in a party. But yeah. Besides that, after I died on that character, I basically bought an Eternal Exalted. My OP helmet is basically perfect percent ES and hybrid ES, and I got top flat, so 500 ES home. And that basically prompted the push for changing my Reaver for Aziri, which I had to respec it because I originally was going IR, and I realized it's pretty useless. I thought I was going to get a lot more armor than I did. So then I started doing Aziri the last 2 days, which almost died the first 3 runs. Logged out once with 800 ES, and that's with 12,100 ES. So pretty close. I mean, I've only ever done a couple kills. I did one about 8 months ago, and I did 3 in my Mjolnir in hardcore recently, and that's a lot different than this character. Whereas Aziri is really easy in Mjolnir, and Trio's hard. But after the first like 7 runs, I think it's pretty safe. And I'm up to 61 now, I think. So I'd say it's pretty good.
So currently I'm playing Pillar of the Base God, and if you guys don't know what that is, it's a little play on words on Pillar of the Caged God. It's a pretty mediocre staff. It's nice because it's cheap and it's effective. It's 1 chaos, if that. You can buy it. The downside of it is it's kind of like a Face Breakers build where you have to stack a hell of a lot of flat physical damage on gear. So your Medjnords, your 2 rings, your neck, and then Bringer of Rain would probably be the best in slot. You can also use Abyssus, but you got that huge chunk of extra physical damage that you'd be taking. So I think I'm going to go Bringer just for the block, the saver. I'm still live on it, live and kicking. I'm taking it slow. And all in all, I think the build's going to plateau. In terms of clear speed, I'd rate it maybe a 3 out of 10 at best. Seriously.
That sounds like a pretty hard plateau, bro.
Yeah, it plateaus pretty damn hard. Like, you need top-tier fizz on pretty much anything to even consider doing high-end maps with it.
Yeah, I was considering rolling one, like, maybe like a week from now, but since I didn't really have anything to do with my money, I was gonna go business and go YOLO. So it better do some damage.
Oh yeah. So you're gonna go crit too then? Might as well.
I don't know if I'll go crit, just because I would have to go and get the nodes. Or I don't know. I guess you could get the staff nodes and stuff, but
you need a lot of accuracy too.
Yeah.
What was Abyss's crit multi odds? I know it's pretty beefy.
It's 150, I think, with best roll. It's like 100 to 150.
Yes. Man, that thing is beefy. But yeah, I think if you go RT and like Resolute Technique and you go Bringer of Rain, not Abyssus, the clear speed's going to be really slow. But the good news is because you're going out of your way to pick up a lot of strength nodes, you have a lot of HP. And I mean a lot of HP, and you could run around with 7 endurance charges most of the time. So it's an okay build at best. I wouldn't rate it amazing, but it's doing its job. It's cheap. It's affordable. The only thing that's really expensive is the Bringer of Rain in that build.
It doesn't sound very cheap though. It sounds, to make it effective, it seems like quite expensive for the value you get out of it.
Well, in game, yes, but leveling, you don't ever have to replace your weapon.
Leveling spec.
You put on a Fox Shade and a Medjnords and you just crush everything.
I kind of feel like it was a lot stronger before they changed percent HP, because you're basically scaling off of your huge flat because you're stacking strength, kind of like an Iron Will build.
Yep.
And now it's not as like tanky as it used to be. So I don't know. I kind of wish it did a little bit more damage, considering you do have to like spend a lot gearing up, and it's, I don't know.
Be pretty good with
I think
Belly
it could use a little love. Yeah, but then like you can't use Bringer if you use Belly, and it's like kind of required. So then it's that's why I was like, I wanted to use Belly. My build's like 280% with like 500 strength in the skill tree. So
Belly and Abyssus might not actually be that YOLO.
Yeah, with the hedgy perma Mortal Call pretty much.
Yep. The thing is, like with strength nodes, you're getting so much HP out of it. Like he was saying, you need that percent life. So Medjnords already has that. You need as much percent life as you can get with all these strength nodes. And then when you're putting on Belly the Beast, though, I don't know. I just feel like endgame doesn't offer that much armor, but I guess with the Mortal Call, that kind of just trumps anything anyways. Who cares using Abyssus? What's it matter at that point? I don't know. All in all, it's just a standard old build. The problem is I'm using Lightning Strike, and Lightning Strike's problem is itself. Like, Etup was watching me yesterday. There's this little tiny rock in front of me. I'm like slapping the ground, and this little tiny rock is eating all of my projectiles. I'm like, please, Lightning Strike. Only if it traveled above the ground, and I'm sure you know, leveling to 100, you experienced that quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I tried to send like some good feedback, and I told them that they should probably either like remove ground target or just leave, like, I don't know, like ground sim's a ground target, but it's fine. Like, it goes over gaps and it doesn't suffer the same problems as like Arctic Breath and Lightning Strike. And I don't know. I just feel like they would definitely be used if they weren't a ground skill. So I don't know.
Yeah, anything traveling on the ground is just needs a rework in my opinion, because you always have that argument in like Spectral Throw. It's been nerfed into the ground, but you'll be better off using that than Lightning Strike almost.
It's just such a mechanically strong skill. I keep saying it.
Yeah, it's better than
take a lot of work
everything.
To kill Spectral Throw.
It really is.
It just works
better than
so
Reeve,
well.
and Reeve is very good, and it's still better than Reeve, honestly.
That's interesting.
Is it because of the range? The clear speed is just higher.
Yeah, I mean, like Reeve, you have to walk up, and like Spectre, you can just like when you have like so much damage, really, it's just hitting the mobs, right? So, like with my new weapon now, my Reaver is like over 200k with Conk. So for a Ziri, it's pretty ridiculous, and you would still probably be faster with Spectre.
It's been nerfed. It has its damage effectiveness lowered by what, 7%, and it's still better. It's just so efficient. It's mechanically strong. Love it. So let's move on. Let's talk about your level 100 here, Etup. What was like? Whatever you want to talk about, just bring it up. Let's hear it.
I don't know. Well, it was definitely nice to get it. Almost died doing probably like the sketchiest map of the league. You know, monster damage, extra fire. I PM Grotha is like, it has pack size. Should I do this? He's like, yeah, do it. I was like, all right, I'm doing it. And yeah, that happened. The 37 HP, extremely close.
Tornado shot one.
Yeah, that was basically it. And like, I knew it was like a bad idea to attempt that, but then yeah. So after that, it was pretty safe. I also spec'd heavily, like more into armor. I went from like 12k to about 17k armor, just because I thought it would help pad possible instances of that happening again, stopping that. But also, I wasn't running Immortal Call at the time, so I kind of realized how much stronger the casting numbers taking Immortal Call was after Nemesis. When I got nerfed, I kind of quit using it. And although I didn't have links, I never bothered to get a 6 link, but I did at 99. And I think that would honestly would have
late, bro.
it would have trivialized it. I think that instance of the close call, because it would have just procced it, and you know.
So hold on. Let me get this right. The quest to 100 was so easy that you had to give yourself the arbitrary challenge of only doing it on a 5 link.
Yes.
I see what's going on here. So I guess that leads into a good question. What was your strategy to 100, man?
I don't know. I mean, I was honestly just playing, like, we weren't making like some hardcore race team. I kind of just got like people I enjoy playing with, and we made our group, and we're all like, we played for a long time, right? So we did pretty good, and basically everyone above us that were in like a pretty serious group, they all died. So then we kind of just like, okay, now we're the best, and yeah, let's not die. Everyone in my group died, so there you go.
So solo the rest of the way.
Yeah.
So how big a factor was, I guess there's two things I want to ask about it here, but I guess firstly, the topic in a lot of people's mind is Untainted Paradise. How big a factor is that? Talk about Untainted.
I think they're very good. Like I was saying, each Untainted I did at 99 was about like 30 to 45 minutes off of the required time to like hit cap based on our clear speed. And like, that, like, plus like being a streamer, honestly, you have way more access to any type of Untainted. It's pretty, like, if I did a 1 week and there was Untainted, you know, if you're like a popular streamer, people are gonna be like, yo, you want in this one? Because they know, like, they might not know that many people, so you get a pretty big advantage. I think they are really strong, but unless you have like easy access to get in contact with people who like have Untainted or find them, then it's not going to be as strong. I feel like in shorter races, they should probably disable it completely, like 1 week, maybe even 2 weeks. Because if someone just gets to one like day 2, they're just going to be so far ahead. Like it's so crazy. It's like 10 hours or 8 hours or 7 hours maybe, like of just XP that you get at low levels.
I think I was watching like day 1. I don't remember who found the first one, but they like, I was like level 50, and I hit, the time it took me to hit 50 to 51, this dude went from like 70 to 72, almost 73, and I was just like, what the hell did I just witness? I was blown away, and obviously the Untainted was discovered.
Yeah, I remember waking up and someone was like, yeah, someone got 5 levels in this map, and I was like, it's kind of hard to believe. You're like, really? Like, I don't know. But then that happened. Yeah, I was saying, like, I think along with like Cardos, I don't think they balance them the correct way, is making them rare and then adding like 5,000 maps to them. It's kind of like the reverse way of fixing them. Like, they would be better if they were just common, so it wasn't like, oh, this guy got a Cardo, now he has 20 maps, and you'd be lucky to see one today or next day. Like, I went like 4 days without seeing any at all at 99, so it's not like unlikely, especially now that they made it rare. I don't know how much rare, they didn't state it, but I think that design decision was not very good, and maybe they should lock Untainteds and Cardos and stuff like that for at least like a month, and then when all the race rewards, everything just unlocks at the same time, which would be Like the race to 100 would pretty much be over a month in, based on current like XP rates and all that.
I really like that idea that you brought up yesterday. You were saying right now about how they should just lock things that can give you a significant benefit based solely off of luck until, as you said, the race is near completion and or finished already.
Yeah, so I think that idea would make the race to 100 very interesting. But as I said yesterday, I'll play devil's advocate on that idea and say that I don't think ZiggyD would ever do that because the point is at the start of the league, a lot of new players are playing the league. They're all hyped up, and having those things like cartographers and untainted, which are very big excitement things. I think, especially the way they were trying to, I think they've been trying to rebalance cartographers to try and help people, newer players especially, sustain their maps and progress in the map system. I think, yeah, I don't think they'd ever do that because it would remove that excitement factor from when most people are playing and add it to a point when they're not playing.
And then it's just going to add into the theory of, oh, this person hit 100 first because of luck, or he had more untainteds, and it's just a freaking QQ.
It goes both ways, honestly. So I think they can't balance one thing without hitting another aspect. It's very difficult to do it. But I said, like, I do like Etup's idea if they were to change it or modify it. I think that is, along those lines is a very good way to approach it.
I'm not going to lie, Etup. I'm going to give you major props. No potion scripts. No cheating.
No
level
potions.
100. Legit.
Legit 100.
Legit.
Oh boy. Yeah, congrats, man. It's pretty awesome achievement. I was very impressed to see it happen so early and everything. So,
Yeah,
absolutely killed it.
I basically wanted to be faster than the previous. I think the 1 month was the fastest record, so I was like a day or two earlier. And I heard he wasn't initially pushing that hard, but on the last few days and probably the last week or so, just going 24 hours and stuff. We were pretty much just going 12 to 16 hours every day. So not anything crazy like races where you're going 20 hours, 22 hours every day, not sleeping. So it was pretty happy.
So back on the Katos topic, the way they changed Katos, in addition to, well, there's two changes they've made recently. One was that Katos now do not advance you in the map pool very much. They don't actually let you jump up, which is what happened before. You get 72s with +5 and all. Hey, I got a 77 map pool now. Now it's more about sustaining your current map pool. But I think the interesting point about that is, though, in the concept or in the term of high level gameplay or in the quest to 100, like we're talking about here, if you're in 77, 78 maps, then you get one of those guys, and you get those 10 77 maps or something like that. Then that's not nerfed at all. That wasn't nerfed. Katos weren't nerfed at all in that sense. How do you feel about that, Etup? Do you think they need further changing?
I mean, I think just the whole change to them wasn't that great. I've heard of people getting 17 plus, 77, 78s in some of their boxes. I've only found one since the change because I haven't been doing that many maps. And I rolled it for +1 level, +1 chest level, and it was a 77. And then I regled it. I got 177, 178 in a bunch of lower maps. But I mean, that was always the case with Kartos. Even with good rolls, you could just get one or two high maps and all low maps, or the opposite. So they're already super RNG on if the Kartos is going to be good just based on your luck, and then you get an extra 20 maps, so you just have extra chances. But I still don't think it's the right way to do it. If they were common and gave you less maps, I'd rather have that than it's ultra rare and you just get an insane amount.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that too. I haven't seen one since the change, and I've been doing quite a few maps. I guess mostly I've been doing unique maps, so I don't know, I guess you don't see them in those very often. You spend more time in unique maps, I don't know, whatever. But it does seem like a weird change, because I felt like the Katos were a big excitement factor. I guess this makes them more exciting, but seeing them less often, yeah, I don't know. I feel like it should have gone the other way, making them slightly more common, but it's basically you don't invest so much in them. They give you a couple maps, 1 or 2 maps or something like that, and then that's the day. I mean, not as exciting, but less impactful, but more helping that goal of helping people sustain their maps.
Yeah.
But,
I was going to say, to be fair, they did still nerf them in a way, because what they did is they increased the quantity of drops, so it's not affected anymore by your party, but you as a solo player, or even a duo player, will now get more than if you were to invite people, because that has no effect anymore.
That's true.
it really depends because I want to say most people don't even bother inviting people in anyway, so it's kind of like an implicit buff to them. Whereas it's
Yeah.
a little bit of a nerf to the party, but it's still don't think it's enough because like even yesterday I found a Cardo and got like 576s out of it. Like it's still some pretty crazy stuff.
Mm.
But I mean, you think about it, like maps right now, like you guys were saying, you can buy a top tier map for what, 10 chaos? So I mean, does it even matter? It only matters in the very early state of the league. Right now, it's sure get your Cardos. Is it really?
Yeah,
Well, are the prices that way because of Cardos? Though I feel like that's
You
like,
never really know though
cause and
how
effect.
the next league's economy is going to turn out, so I don't really think you can gauge it off that.
It could
We
be.
have-
Go ahead, Etup.
I was just gonna say, we have all the new stuff plus the Cardos like Zanas and all that. Taurus spawning more monsters maybe within your map. So, and top of that, also Beyond. I guess you could throw in there. They give you a lot. So there's just so many more ways to get maps, and it was already not that difficult to sustain your maps. So
No, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Zana, huge factor. Even the Cardo argument, it's only bad in the very beginning, but I think Cardos do more good than they do bad, and I don't know. I think it's a topic that gets brought up every single podcast, and I don't know if it's going to go anywhere. But I think I don't know. I agree with Etup. Maybe they should have like some sort of like 1 month, no Cardos, no Untainteds, no anything, just pure skill, pure
I'd
credit
like to
card
see that.
swiping. You know.
Pure RNG. Oh, baby. Pure credit card swiping.
yeah, because I mean, the map system was way more fun back in the day when you would just slowly build up, or at least I enjoyed it more, like spending more time like just pushing up a base or whatever. That's when like maps are worth a lot more though, and like since they've like steadily increased the amount of maps you can get, and also there's so many more ways to get them. That's kind of like gone out the window. Like day 2, day 3, you know, we're pushing like if you wanted to, you could probably go to the highest level maps already. So it's just so much different.
I think overall I like now that more people are able to enjoy the end game, but I do feel like there is that missing fun for the people that kind of accelerate beyond that point. So the people that get behind the kind of casual enjoyment of end game, so the people who have been playing for a bit longer, that there is definitely missing that more end game challenge there, at least in terms of like, yeah, that fun of the map pool before that slow climb up, that slow difficult climb up. So I don't know. I feel like something else needs to be added up there. Maybe making the highest of high level maps a bit harder to get into. So like 77, 78, 79 is very hard to get into. I mean 79s are, but and then adding more maps up there to play, something like that. So
Yeah, I don't know. I think that like the current XP rate I think is nice, because I think if it was a lot longer, at least for me, I think I would probably just be too bored of my current character or something like that to keep pushing. But I think like a little bit under a month is probably pretty good for 100, honestly, if you're committing like all your time to it. And although I'd like to see like map drop rates lower, I don't know, like just the way you go up maybe different. I think the XP rate is perfect. I don't know.
So let's talk about the potential for Act 4. I know yesterday you were mentioning that you're really, really pumped because, you know, the next 3 would be still Forsaken Masters with just a new standard and a hardcore variant. But you're really excited for Act 4. Would you like to explain why?
Yeah, well, usually with like there's going to be the new tile sets like snow and mine and all the new stuff that's going to come along with it. They usually add in new maps, which also boost the drop rates. So if there's like an extra 77, extra 78, maybe like 179, I don't know what their plans are. It'll increase the drop rate, but also like more variety and everything. So the more
So I didn't
maps
know that.
available.
Before you move on, I didn't know that point about adding extra maps into the map pool boosts the drop rate. Do you want to explain that? You said you talked to a dev about that recently.
Yeah, I think it was back in Nemesis when they first added the newest like content like Act 3X. I believe it was like Neon, or it might have been someone else, but they said that because we weren't sure how the map drop rates would be affected by the new maps, and apparently if there's like 377th instead of 2, that you can get like a shrine, shipyard, and maybe just some like snow map that's new. You actually have a higher chance of getting a 77 because I think it rolls the the map and I thought it rolled like the level range of the map and then it picked one, but it has a higher chance to roll that based on the amount of maps in that range or something like that. I can't remember exactly.
Interesting.
Do you think they'll? Well, obviously, I believe you're the fastest hit level 100, correct?
In
Right.
in hardcore, yeah, but I don't know about softcore.
So you're the fastest ever. It seems that people are getting quicker and quicker and quicker at leveling to 100. With adding a 79 map, obviously this would only increase that experience gain, and obviously Untainted Paradise now. Do you think that we'll see level 79 maps? Do you think that it's even needed, or the current state to level 100 is just fine?
I don't know. Maybe they would do some like rescaling, and I don't know. It depends on if they have any like crazy, like core mechanic changes or something that they would do. Like maybe rescale levels, or I don't know, just some crazy thing that they would do. Probably not, but I don't know.
All right. And I know, like, when they introduced Dominus, obviously you used to do Palace, Residence, then you see Maze, Orchard, not Maze, what's it called? Courtyard, Orchard. All those new maps came out with the introduction of the new Nemesis tile sets. We haven't seen any new tile sets. You know, Academy was another one, Museum. Labyrinth, exactly. Hopefully they release, with Act 4, I would assume would be a bunch of new tile sets which allow new maps. And I think that would help out in-game mapping a ton. So,
Mountain tile sets, oh boy.
oh no. We just had a lag spike there. There we go. Sorry about that.
Oh yeah, I saw your internet crap out for a bit.
Yeah, apologize everyone. So, do you have anything else you would like to add at all, Etup, in terms of like level 100 experience or leveling in general? What you would like to see, as you're always in the top 5 every freaking league?
I think it'd be cool if they did something for maybe like top 10. Like give them something. I don't know, just like maybe your first 100. There's like just some microtransaction you get, which would be cool, kind of like Invasion, where you got like a special.
All right, we're back, guys. Sorry, I don't know what's going on. Something with OBS of late. I think they need to patch or something. Update it, yeah. It's been happening to a lot of us. So Ziggy's using the restroom real quick. Etup, what were you going on about now with introductions of level 100 first?
I was saying it'd be cool if they maybe like for your first 100 there was a microtransaction that you got, kind of like the Invasion reward for like killing the first 50 Aziris or something like that, or then like top 10 ladder, maybe they get something as well for like each season, just like something more for ladder, because I feel like it's kind of neglected. And like sure, like you get your name up there, but that's about it. You don't really get anything cool. Like you don't get recognized at all by GGG really. I'd say like it's like, oh, top 10 gets like this, and then top 50 gets something else. I think it'd be a pretty cool thing, and people would push for it a little more.
We're back live, are we?
Yes.
Okay.
We are.
Awesome.
So, I mean, obviously, before the whole Atsiri thing caused a lot of drama because people were selling it. But honestly, if you're hitting level 100, unless you're using an exploit like the Cast on Death, Zombies, and Nemesis, for example, usually it's fairly warranted, correct? I mean,
yeah, I'd say so.
We had a little bit of a stir up with that, but they all rightfully crashed. Yes. I'm sure that was entertaining to watch for everybody. But I do agree. I think that you guys put forth the effort to go for that level 100. If you're investing that much time in the game, you should be rewarded. And at least like the very first one gets like his own specific MTX, like he is the king of that league, and everyone else can get something else like the top 10.
A giant crab hat would be pretty correct.
I'll take that. Just email me, Chris. I'll send you the specs of the crab hat.
The winner gets to choose whatever MTX helmet they want.
Gravel bro on my head with the butt shot going out the back while I walk around.
The ability to PK people. You can be level 100 walking around.
Yeah, I think a general market transaction for anyone that hits 100, because that's still like an achievement, even in like standard only, like hardly, like less than 100 or something people are in at level 100 in standard, aren't they? Like it's not that many people level 100 now.
Oh no.
So I think
I don't know.
Some sort of MTX for everyone that hits 100, and then yeah, unique one for first 100 in a race is an awesome idea. I'd like that a lot. I think that'd be awesome. It's simple, and it would be a nice motivator, an extra thing. Maybe it would up the competition a little bit more as well.
Back onto the topic though of Act 4, I think I'm gonna yet again be the only one to bring this up, but as I am extremely excited, I am very scared as well because with the introduction of Act 3, what did they release? They had Leapers.
Oh my god.
They had the little spiky guys. Did Devourers come in Act 3 too? Is that when they came
Yep.
up?
Devourers, birds.
Birdmen.
Bubble Boys.
Bubble Boy. I mean, what else is there to release now in Act 4? What are we
All
gonna get?
chaos mobs.
Nightmare Fuel. Nightmare
go.
Fuel.
I think we're
Yeah.
gonna see mobs that are like devourers. Plus, you're gonna find like a mommy devourer that gives birth to drop bears, and they're gonna have wings, so they can like they're gonna be flying now. And I'm telling you, there's gonna be some crazy
Drop bear
stuff.
bombers.
You just don't even know. Yeah, why not? Put in some extra flying mobs. True fact, flying mobs, things like, well, not flying mobs, like Summon Raging Spirit cannot be triggered by Shockwave Totem. So what if they introduce mobs that like fly over traps and stuff? It's gonna happen, you just wait. It's gonna happen.
Please, Pog.
This is true. Act 3X brought with it, like, in my opinion, the worst mobs in the game, or the most hated mobs in the game. All of them. Oh man, Scepter of God is like the epitome of the worst mobs in the game. I'm like, everything in there is just absolutely horrendous.
Freaking
Even
Leapers,
like, even the
man.
basic statues, the Fizz resist statues with Ice Shot. Oh my god, they're such a pain in the ass.
What about
Yeah, they definitely focused on getting like new, really strong monsters in. Like they're pretty like high quality as far as like difficulty and stuff. So it should be pretty fun when the new ones come out.
Yeah. Overall, it's a good thing. Like, some of the mobs are pretty frustrating, but it's like challenge-wise, yeah, I think you're right. And design, they're pretty interesting, a lot of them.
I got it. Zombies that can mount Roas. So the Roa charges you, stuns you, and the zombie hits you with powerful crits and you die. That's it right there. That's a
Please,
land type.
Pogs.
Yep.
Please.
Stop
The
giving him ideas.
The new map mods is can mount. That's what it's gonna be. And any mob that has like legs, like 4 legs and goes on all 4s can be mounted. And it's like a new mob type. You won't even like. I'm telling you.
To be honest, those zombies are pretty strong. If you have like a sub-vis zombie with corrupting blood, you can actually die to desync on Twilight Strand to them. It's pretty crazy. But that's a whole nother story.
I've seen that. The CB zombie desync.
Yep.
That's a pretty famous shit pod.
Pretty famous. Anyways, let's talk about the state of two-handers. It's time. It needs to be brought up. Who has the most experience here with two-handers? I'm going to go with Etup. He only played it for an entire league. Where do you think two-handers are at right now, Etup?
Well, they don't scale as well as one-handers, and even if you could get their damage way higher, they have way more issues with Reflect, I feel, than a normal build. With like, and I don't know, you're probably just sacrificing just as much or more to pull out the damage, and you can't really go crit with them. And nowadays with the Mastercrafting, I feel like crit is just like better than everything, because usually the difficulty is getting like a really good weapon or something, but it's not that hard to do now. And if you can like easily access like a decent crit dagger, then it's just gonna beat every other weapon.
No, we're lagging again. Please OBS, and 0.
As Etup lagged out, OBS.
Alright,
crashed
we're
again.
back. We're back.
Okay.
We're back. I don't understand what's going
Something
on.
was thrown.
Please, OBS, we pray to you right now. The man is
Just
talking.
get us through the rest of the podcast. So Etup just mentioned not being able to go crit on two-handers, and crit's very meta at the moment, especially. I think like the only like decent crit two-hander now is Hegemony Zero. Hegemony Zero is the only decent crit two-hander. But yeah, no crit really on two-handers. Like, they're supposed to be higher raw damage, but they're not really cutting it against their weaknesses nowadays. And especially like in Beyond, where especially if you're playing melee, like block is really, really important in Beyond. I feel spell block and block
Yeah,
is a big deal.
You drop the survivability with like a shield or anything else, and then on top of that, it's like it's just not strong, and it makes them close to the damage of like a one-handed. And it's way more devastating to reflect, like just killing yourself in that one big hit versus something else like playing ground slam or something. You could just one-shot yourself, so like Immortal Call wouldn't save you unless you were already casting yourself.
So I'm going to say that two-handers, they haven't really changed much. They've changed, like wheels in the tree, but more specific to weapon specs. But overall, two-handers, they just never change. They just keep making the next great thing. And like you said, perfectly rolled daggers are always like the best, just because of nodes like Adder's Touch. They even added more crit multi specific to daggers, but lowered overall in the tree, I think. Daggers just, once they're perfectly rolled, and there's always the option of Beanos. The problem with two-handers, I think, is mainly their mitigation. There's no real way to deal with mitigation, and the only two-hander that you can really get crit on is the same two-hander that you can get mitigation with. The problem is, this is staves I'm referring to, all their nodes suck. Like, there is no, like, the staff wheels are so, like, inefficient compared to, like, let's look at sword wheel. You have brutal blade, you have slash and comeback. Those are, like, really, really well rolled and everything like that, or well designed. And in my honest opinion, I think that two-handed meta just needs something. When you crit with a two-hander, you like really notice it. Obviously, when you crit with a dagger, it doesn't really matter. Like Etup said, once you get to a certain damage threshold, all you need is clear speed at that point, right? So with two-handers, you can achieve the same damage threshold with a one-hander versus a two-hander, and there's one-handers you could still use block. So I think they need to completely change the way how mitigation works for two-handers in order for them to be viable.
On topic there, I swear I heard a new staff wheel is coming. Has anyone heard that?
Yeah, one of the massive ones. I think as far as like the node.
We are back live now.
Actually could be because it goes robotic on my end too.
Yep. It's only when Etup talks. It's weird. Oh man.
Part 4 of the State of Exile.
State of Exile, part 4.
Are we active again?
Part 81.
Alright, hitting the robot button. Okay. Are we good?
We're good.
Basically, I was saying, I think what they are doing possibly is like Witch and Shadow were done in this league, so they could do another 2 classes for the next league, like update their nodes. Like as you see in the Ranger nodes, they're insane. Like some of the sword wheels, like the effectiveness on them, like compared to anywhere else. So once they revamp like 2 more classes, maybe next league, and then when the big Act 4 comes, maybe they finish the last 3 with reworking the skill tree. If they keep up the way that they've been buffing the nodes, though, I feel like people are just gonna have ridiculous stats, and I don't know. It's gonna be like cool, and you're gonna be extremely strong, but. I think all the like weapon builds will be really good as far as the nodes, and it's just going to be up to like what can a two-hand axe do that like like a two-hand staff can't do better or something like that.
Seriously, like they keep making nodes more and more efficient. Like if daggers had high local crit, if swords had high local crit, I think they would stomp daggers just because their nodes are so good. There's so much attack speed with them. Adder's Touch always exists, but seriously, like they keep making swords more and more efficient, and you don't even need to go RT with them either. So, I tried out a crit two-handed sword build, and I was still able to achieve like 54% crit, which is it's not 95 like in your preferred build, but still you can achieve a decent amount of crit, especially with Assassin's Mark. And I don't know, I have a feeling that with two-handers, things need to change. Obviously, they're making staves more efficient. The Templar tree as a whole just needs to become more efficient. But when does it get to that point where the tree is just so good? Like, and the tree's come a very long way where damage is just going through the roof now. I don't know. So, what's your guys' honest opinion? What do you think? What do you think needs to happen to two-handers? Do you think they're in a bad spot? Do you think they're fine? Do you think they need a new mitigation overhaul?
Well, I think that two-handed bows are doing quite well. They're much better than the one-handed bows. I think they're in a very good spot. The new bow nodes are good.
Please, two-handed weapons, not bows.
Wait, you're saying a bow's not a weapon? Stop being bowist, you bastard.
You can wear a quiver with a bow.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel there's like some lacking diversity and lacking incentives to go two-handed melee weapons for the most part. But it could also be due to the skills as well. It could be more of a skill issue than a passive issue. I mean, overall the tree is not that bad. There are some improvements to be made to other areas of the tree in terms of, I think, melee nodes. But I think maybe it's skills. We were talking a little bit about earlier about Spectral Throw and Reeve, and so when I see discussions about melee come up, I mean, I don't play melee much, so still second hand. But whenever I see like discussions about melee, it's like Reave or bust is what I hear. I mean, I still think Spectral Throw is really good. I just think people are kind of bored of Spectral Throw now. But Reave is like all the rage, but nothing really seems to come close to it. So maybe do you guys think it's a skill issue?
I don't know. I mean, you have, let's see, for two-handers, what do you have as effective? There's Ground Slam, you could do two-hand, Spectral Throw. I can't think of it. I haven't played two-handers in ages. What else do we have for two-handers that you can use for AoE?
I mean, Ground Slam's still pretty solid. Yeah, Ground Slam's always been pretty solid.
I think the problem is not only maybe a little bit of diversity with gems, but I think more or less, at least when I make my typical two-hand builds, the outline looks the same for majority of them. So I think the skill tree diversity, there's really not much to play around with. I could be incorrect. I haven't played around too much with them. Cyclone, I guess, yeah, Cyclone. People are saying Molten Strike with Sweep. I think it's more of the skill tree diversity, though. Because with swords and daggers and everything, you can go one-handed. There's so much you could do. You can go like, do I want to invest in the shield nodes? Do I not want to invest in the shield nodes? Which weapon type do I take? Am I going left side for crit? Because you can do that with one-handers. You can actually go to the Marauder and Templar for crit, and you can still have like a 50% plus crit with swords. You can go north if you want to go to Shadow Tree. You could go CI. Like, there's just so much variation as opposed to two-handers being a little bit, not like that at all.
And then skill-wise, you have like as a one-hander, you can play. Like people saying, like Molten Strike's a good two-hander skill. I mean, it's I think probably still better with like crit daggers. It's like crit daggers for Reave, Molten Strike, Spectral Throw. Like some of the best melee skills in the game are like best done with one-handers. The two-handers don't really have any skills that are much better to them. I mean, I've seen some cool stuff with Sweep recently with Hedgie. That's like cool, but I still don't think it's very competitive with something like Reave. So I don't know. I think there's a lacking of that really good two-hander skill apart from Spectral Throw.
I think Ground Slam's probably the best two-hand skill by far, but then again, like I said, when you get like really, really high damage with Ground Slam, like Seldo and I think Nemesis, he was like Cage God build, and then he rolled like an insane meat grinder. He switched over, and as he was attacking, Sea Witch casted Vuln on him, and then he one-shotted himself on Fizz Reflect. Because his his Ground Slam damage is really high. Just one hit, dead. Like one Ground Slam.
Wow.
So
and he wasn't even using Molten Strike? He was just using regular
I don't know. I don't remember, but
wow.
I just remember it was just one hit and he's done. So it's pretty crazy.
Even watching Alkaiser come back this league, he was playing it and he was wrecking himself on freaking Reflect.
What do you guys reckon about, someone in chat said, buffing the AoE of Melee Splash? That would serve the purpose of turning more of the, or leveraging more of the single target skills and turning them into better AoEs. What do you guys reckon about that?
I think it's good. I don't know. Like, you always want to hit that break point where you can, like, hit the whole pack or maybe, like, hit stuff that's behind you when you're attacking forward and stuff like that. I think it'll help out a lot. And I don't know if it would be OP or anything, but it would definitely be really good quality of life.
Yeah, like the reason why Reave is so damn good is you don't need melee splash. Same thing with Cleave. Cleave doesn't have insane range, but it hits like a freight train because you got that extra link in there. Most one-handed builds, you're like, well, I need melee splash. That automatically reduces your damage overall, where you don't reduce your damage with Cleave and Reave, and then you get that extra slot in place of it too. So
damage reduction is usually offset by the higher base damage of the single target skill. I find I think that makes it pretty even most of the time. But yeah, Cleave's damage can get really high. Mano said, what about changing the scaling of skills based on whether you're using a two-hander or a one-hander?
That would be interesting.
It goes back to the reflect thing Etup was talking about, though. If they give you more damage effectiveness, you're going to kill yourself quicker.
Like, even if you do get your damage really high in a two-hander, it's not like a bunch of super tiny fast attacks. It's big fat ones. So, like, you would need a way for it to be mitigated. I don't know what they would do with that. And, like, giving them more damage doesn't really solve the problem, and I don't know.
Another suggestion was more melee range. I love the idea of more melee range. I think the most frustrating thing for me as melee is having to stand right on the toes of the mob and then having to click on them directly. I love, like, when I did play melee characters, getting that +2 weapon range in Duelist, like, it feels so much better. It's just so frustrating without it. And when you're using multi-strike especially and you're like whiffing because the mob's like, 2 pixels too far away from you, I think adding a bit of extra melee weapon to two-handers wouldn't look weird because the two-handers are all pretty long. And I think that would probably be a pretty nice little buff for two-handers. I don't know if it'd solve many of the problems, but it'd be nice at least, quality of life.
I think it's funny how fencing foil has higher range than some two-handers, like a higher default weapon range. I don't understand that at all.
Yeah.
I'm not saying nerf fencing foil.
Yeah, you got to thrust. Yeah.
I just don't get why. I think it's what two-handed axes are 7, right? And fencing foils are 7, and then you got like two-handed maces, staves, and then two-handed swords have less weapon range than a freaking fencing foil. I think that's what it is. But I know fencing foils are the highest.
I've never really noticed it that much. I mean, you have to play a build that's like literally like walking up and hitting the mobs. So I'd say I don't play that too often. Maybe like once a league or something. So it's really hard to tell like different weapon types, the different weapon ranges. But I could definitely see it definitely helps a little bit with desync. So when a monster is like a little bit out of position from where it's showing, you actually hit it from farther away. So it's not nearly as bad.
That's my main reason for not playing melee, really, is that it just feels frustrating and desyncy a lot of the time in Path of Exile. I think if you play as your first character as melee in Path of Exile, I think you're kind of going to get the worst experience in the game, in my opinion. Ranged, like playing with a bow, is just so much more relaxing, so much more enjoyable.
The real
I guess
reason, Ziggy, is because melee's not safe. Let's be honest. You play the
boy.
safest builds ever.
This is that's a good point to transition into the topic of melee versus range disparity. Like, now that the damage on bow builds have been buffed, they have real survivability combined with high damage. I mean, I don't see many melee skills that have higher damage than puncture on a bow. It's possible. Like double strike, single target damage can be pretty insane. But for the safety that puncture gives you and the ability to kite while you're doing DPS, I mean, range just is getting better and better and safer and safer. And I mean, I hit 90 and beyond on my first character as a puncture tornado shot ranger. And I don't know, I'm not the best player. I definitely think the power of ranged has a big factor in that. And I do think, the stronger that bows get damage-wise, the stronger that ranged things get damage-wise, and the more ranged skills become available, then the weaker seeming melee is going to be, or the more it needs to become stronger to offset that. I definitely think there's a big disparity there, I think, without question. I don't know, what do you guys think?
As far as like single target, like safely, or what do you think? What do you mean?
Just in general, like the general how melee and range stack up to each other, like the advantages of going ranged over going melee, and so I guess that could be in terms of survivability and beyond league and such, and it could be in damage as well, and also the ability to output damage to packs. Like as a ranged character, you are always able to deal damage to packs, whereas as a melee character, you first need to close that gap, so it slows down your clear speed. So I guess all of the combination of those things.
I feel like one hand and bows are probably like. As far as like dagger versus bows, where you're both going like high crit and stuff like that, maybe you can even compare swords. I think they're pretty similar because you have the shield to make up anything that would maybe like range would give you an advantage over, but two-handers are probably not even close to either of those. So
the thing is block. Block is insane. Block is like the strongest avoidance in the game. That's why like one-handed daggers are so safe. You can go Under Skyle, you get a ton of block, you're good to go. Or even if you go IR, you get a good amount of armor, you go block, you're good to go. The only thing like staves really have, in order to get block cap on a staff without using anvil, it's like you have to do all sorts of crazy clunky stuff, and that's using like Rumi's Concoction, Bringer of Rain, getting those horribly placed 13% block nodes. I just think that two-handers, as long as there's no block or not efficient nodes for them, it's just going to be, you're just going to get wrecked. Especially like you said, Etup, it's a big beefy hit. Or you want to go crit two-handers? Go ahead, go enjoy a reflect map, please, because you're going to feel the wrath.
Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like casting damage taken is like one of the problems with it, because you're really just stacking like block and phase acro and Andars and all these like different ways, and casting damage taken in Mortal Call is basically IR. It's like as strong or stronger than IR. Plus you get all the other benefits from everything else. Like even on my character with like 17k armor and lightning coil, before the patch, I'd say in Invasion, I could like tank everything, and it was just super strong. Like any damage mods in a high map, I wouldn't be getting hit hard. But now it's like, even with that, it doesn't really help against the big hits. Like, I feel like it doesn't really do much, and if I just had acrobatics, it would be better.
Yeah, I'd have to agree though with clear speed matching on bows versus one-handers, because a lot of one-handers you typically go semi-ranged on, like Reeve with Vol Reeve with area of effect is the entire screen. Even without area of effect, it's like half the screen. Spectral throw, you can make half the screen. I mean, that's just 2 skills, but that's also using a one-hander with a shield that can match the clear speed of a bow very easily.
Bows are still in a really good spot. Don't get me
Oh
wrong.
yeah, no,
Bows
I'm
are
not
a
doubting
great
at all.
spot right now. This is a spot they needed to be in. It's just two-handers. They just. It's
From the go ahead.
the best two-handed spec is probably Spectral Throw right now. And I had a blast playing it. And I was just like, screw Spectral Throw, I'm done with it. After, despite all the nerfs, it was really fun. And I was ranged. I'm not gonna.
It's ranged.
It's ranged.
That's it. In terms of like defensive aspects, especially Beyond League, obviously has a lot of anti-melee stuff. The degen, the Unrighteous Fire Flame Surge dudes. There's like the Summoner Exile, like that's all leagues. A lot of this stuff is very anti-melee that's been added into the game recently, and it's kind of funny. But like as a bow character, I feel like my weaknesses of playing ranged should be that I get hit by ranged attacks, right? Like melee characters, I can kite easily. It's like pretty easy to kite well in Path of Exile and avoid most melee damage. Like all that stuff is, I just very rarely ever get hit by it. But I do get hit by ranged attacks. But on Guard is like hard counters ranged attacks. It's like we get a hard counter to the thing that I guess is the only thing that threatens us. So there's very little things that actually threaten you as like a ranged character. So I feel like that's kind of weird. Whereas if you're playing like if you're playing a one-hander or a two-hander, you have to like, if you're playing one-hander, you need to go block and other forms of perma mitigation like Max Immortal Call and two-handers to do that, which is a lot harder. Whereas on those guys, just like always there. I don't know. I do think there's a big disparity there.
Yeah, Honda's is just crazy. I mean, it didn't like I don't know what it used to be before they like doubled it or buffed it or whatever they did, but it's definitely just insane now. And the Summoner Exile, yeah, I think that's like, that thing is super deadly. Like 2k per anything that it blows up statues to spawn you with a melee build. Like if you're running multi-strike, you can't even aim your skills. So like you're just attacking her and they spawn. You're blowing both of them up on you instantly. It's like you have no control over anything that's happening. It's super unforgiving for melee.
What do you think about Exiles in general in terms of, like you were even mentioning yesterday, like when that she's the only one you'll still lag from and you have a great computer. Do you think that it's something they need to adjust with their engine? Just have the option of having no MTXs on in Exile?
Yeah, I think definitely. MTX should be like toggleable and maybe even rain just for people with bad computers and stuff, where people who want to like min-max and no risk or anything, don't care if they look cute.
Look cute. Hello Kitty confirmed.
No, that's part of the risk. It's part of the challenge. It's just a little bit biased towards people with bad computers.
Oh man, freaking Exile. Exile box is guaranteed to freeze you up. Let's do it. So let's see. Obviously, range is the better choice. I would like to bring up dual wielding. I think dual wielding got a lot of buffs this patch. There's that new dual wield horseshoe right by Dervish, so you can get an easy 21% block while dual wielding right there. There's Bravado, which is another 8%, which isn't too far off. It's right near Constitution, which you're planning on getting anyways. What do you guys think about dual wield block? Do you think it's improved greatly? Do you think it's back? Is the meta back? Ziggy?
No idea.
No idea.
Yeah, not an area of the game I've touched at all yet.
I've definitely seen more dual wield builds in this patch, in this league than previous leagues, aside from when LA Cleave was out and people were doing some crazy. Actually, did you dual wield LA Cleave? Or was it one hand? I forgot.
No, it was LA Cleave.
Was it dual wield though?
LA Cleave was big for a while, and then Bringer was really big for a while. And then
people did dual wielding a while ago, and then it stopped. And I believe dual wielding came up again now in this league. I've had a lot of people showing me dual wield block builds, dual wield, like a lot of different dual wield things. I don't know if they're as strong as these other builds that are coming up, but I do know for a fact that dual wielding did get a little bit of a buff compared to the previous leagues that it had. But I can't really speak much on it as I haven't played it.
I think it's definitely better, but I don't know. I think that the dual block nodes might be a bit overrated because you can't really cap your block or like like get max block, max spell block unless you're like gonna sacrifice your bringer or something like that. So I feel like it's not worth it as much when you can just run Arumis and any situation where you would maybe need the block, you just hit it and there you go, eat your max block and all that. It kind of just makes up for it. Yeah, Arumis is one of the most insane items in the game right now.
Agreed. Roomies is freaking nuts. Even in like a staff build, Roomies, it's
every build should have like one Roomies. Unless you're already max block, you should be running it because it just shows you how strong block is pretty much. But
strongest avoidance in the game without a doubt. So let's bring up the last meta discussion for the day. We got elemental versus physical attack damage meta. Obviously, last league elemental was huge. We saw Havoc do Ubertiri first kill in hardcore environment, which was pretty good, using the Buzzsaw build. And Elemental, it was all auras, more specifically than anything else. Elemental, it's still played, but it's not played nearly as much as physical. And my personal reasons why I think that is because with the Forsaken Masters, it's much easier to get that physical weapon prior than before. I'm sure there's other things that account into that. What do you think, Etup? Why is Elemental not played nearly as much as physical right now?
They killed resist everywhere on the tree for the most part, the max res. So I think if you actually get an elemental build to really high damage levels, you're just gonna kill yourself, and there's not much you can do about it unless, like, especially in Beyond. Like even if you like say, oh, with a flask I'm good, if you're attacking or you're not looking for 1 second Beyond pack spawns, you're dead. Like you don't really have. You can't really play a build like that in this league. It's just not viable at all. So maybe next league when you can basically rely on you flasking yourself, maybe there'll be more LE builds. But I don't know. It's just kind of not as strong right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say basically I think the damage is still there. I think it's mostly like not in vogue, but the safety is the biggest killer, as Etup said. Yeah, and that Beyond point, like Beyond League's just jumping up in front of you, and then they can have auras, LE reflect and stuff. That is, yeah, just something you can't really deal with. As you're going to kill yourself eventually to that. It's going to happen at some point if you have a decent amount of damage, which of course you want.
One of my scariest moments with Beyond packs, I think, with reflect spawning is when I was doing Flame Blast builds for leveling, and I was in like Merciless, and I wasn't capped resist because I was just going through. And I would like channel like a Flame Blast, and then while they're dying from burn, I would channel another Flame Blast. The Ignite would kill them, and then a Beyond pack would spawn as I'm channeling from the Ignite, and then that would have Reflect. And I'm like, well, then this is awkward. But I have seen successful builds work without, I mean, with all of this Reflect now. It's just, you're right, it's very dangerous now because they removed, there's only one max resist now on the tree, right? One of each element.
Mm. And you can't get all of them.
Yeah, I mean, there's the one fire by Marauder, there's one lightning on Witch, and there's one cold by Ranger. So
it's just +1 all on each area of the tree. Each has one. I'd like to correct myself. It wasn't Buzzsaw. It was Low Life Spectral Throw. Sorry, guys. That was my bad with the build Havoc played. Anyways, I think that elemental attacks in general, we got. Let's see, Herald of Ash scales physical now, so they have a new self buff. And granted, overkill could be any source of damage, but still Herald of Ash scales physical even more now. You see a lot of Hatred Herald of Ash leveling up, and yeah, once you get a little bit of mana reservation, you throw in a Graze turn, whatever you prefer. What else is there? Easy to roll your weapons, and I mean, it's all in all, physical just seems to take the cake right now, especially with how popular flaring was before the nerf. Flaring, mod rolling. It was pretty nuts.
Yeah, the crafting thing is a big deal. The master crafting a fizz weapon is much more attainable now. Even just like a starter fizz weapon, like getting started with a fizz build. Like if you're playing your first character in the start of the league, it's going to be a fizz build. I don't think getting an elemental build started is as easy as a fizz build in terms of crafting, at least. Some builds you can just like get an high attack speed weapon with 1 LE on you, you're okay to get started. But yeah, it's not as good as that. Yeah, with that, especially with the Elrian crafting of the sick fizz weapons. It's I think that was a big point. I do think the biggest point is the safety concerns that Etup brought up there. Overall, like the crafting is only a minor point compared to that.
Heck yeah. So all in all, do you think Elemental needs a buff, or you think it's fine where it is? What do you guys think?
I think it'll be fine if left into the new leagues, depending on what happens with the new leagues. I think it'll probably become in vogue again or meta again, as long as there's not something like Surprise Ellie Reflect happening.
Yeah, I mean, I could see people playing it, but I honestly don't like any of the skills that are like half Fizz, half Ellie. I don't really like them because it used to be they were like the skills we went to back in the day, like Lightning Arrow and stuff, because they were safe because you're not going to kill yourself to either. But nowadays, you're going to kill yourself to both, and more specifically, Elemental. Even with you are flasking or no Beyond or anything, it's still your chance of killing yourself in like compared to like a normal like physical build is just so much higher. Once you like scale your damage to like the extreme levels, I just feel like they just can't compete really.
Yep. I mean, there's no other way to put it right now. Elemental damage is in, I think, an okay spot. I don't think it needs to change really. And the only thing that really before it was so strong because you can get, let's see, against Itsiri you can get nearly 100% resist all. You had Surgeon Flasks. You had all that plus resist on the tree. No problem. But physical is solid. I love where physical's at right now. I always loved physical builds more so than anything else. So,
and Fizz works with Puncture. Oh, baby.
That love.
Main reason for not playing Ellie Bow. I'm interested in the idea of like Ellie Tornado Shot with like GMP and chain and everything. But then, what do you use for single target? Like Barrage? Ugh. Puncture, please. Give me an Ellie Puncture and I'll be happy.
So let's talk about hopes for upcoming content patches. It's been a while since we've seen a content patch in Path of Exile at all, and we've had a few patches here and there. We had a couple patches where they added more mods to masters, such as the hybrid mod, the master mods, where you can do, for instance, the ever so popular Elrond enchant. And then we've seen the patch where they nerfed it. We haven't seen anything really cool and interesting yet, other than Forsaken Masters release. We haven't seen any new gems. New uniques. Usually every 2 or 3 weeks you would see a new gem, uniques, new support gem, something. What's going on? What is going on?
We did get drop bears, Zeno. We did get drop bears.
Content patch. Here's some little bears
That
aren't even in maps.
Don't make fun. Actually, if you
Tauras.
get Tora, there you go. Those are.
I
those
think
are like
drop bears could have been a hit if you got a pack of drop bears. You always had one that was like in a treasure, and they're like dropping the treasure for you. That'd be everyone would love.
Dropping eggs from the trees.
Yes.
At least Crown of Thorns is worth something now.
Actually,
If
they
you're
don't,
Australian, that actually happens.
they don't come from trees. They just come from wherever they want. So
They drop out of from the moon, I think. That's
Yeah,
what I heard.
exactly.
Straight up.
I got them.
That's how it works in Australia. I can confirm that.
The dangerous drop bears.
What do you think's coming? What do you, Pox? What are your opinions about this lack of content? Do you think content's coming out? Do you think we're gonna get a lot of cool stuff?
I really hope content's coming out. I mean, the Forsaken Masters patch was great, but I want to get back on our regular schedule of like every 2 weeks there's something exciting happening. As you guys said, there's a unique coming out or a new gem or just something, because it really, whenever you tend to veer off, get a little bit bored, you're like, oh, let's try to make a temporary build around this item or make a build around this skill gem, and really just, we all want something new, I think.
I think they're mainly working towards the new race season and possibly Act 4. We got kind of spoiled with the every 2 weeks to a month content patches. I mean, for a while there, it was like Stormcall, Flame Surge, Glacial Cascade. Even though they're not super popular, it was still something new to test out. You would get 2 to 4 uniques every patch, and that's kind of gone the wayside. I think they are saving up for the racing season, and then I think they're developing Act 4 mainly.
Yeah, I know a lot of people weren't happy because it's like they waited like months and months for race season. It's only going to be like 4 weeks or however long. I don't know exactly how long. It's like they're pretty sad. It's going to be like 4 weeks and then wait another couple months for another like short race season maybe. But I definitely wish they would go back to like a couple uniques a week. That was definitely like probably like the most exciting thing to look forward to. You just like refreshing the forums all the time, see like the new uniques for you, see if they're any good or something cool you might be able to do something with.
Z, what do you reckon's coming out?
So we do know that Rory is working on a bow movement skill. I'm pretty hyped for that, but that might not be a little while off. I do think the idea that they're probably working on mostly the race thing, getting that sorted. I guess they're in crunch time for that. I talked to Chris a little while back, a couple of weeks ago, and he said that they weren't ready to move to a regular patching schedule yet, because talking about, like, you know, how I usually do the teaser videos. I'm actually, and they might give us a statement about patches during the show, maybe. Maybe they should be just about in the office now, maybe. So we might be able to get there. But as for now, though, I don't really know what to expect. But I would like to move back to a regular content schedule of one skill gem every 2 weeks, or support gem every 2 weeks, or a couple uniques, at least a couple uniques every 2 weeks. I'm surprised that they haven't put any uniques in. They must have, all the guys that were working on uniques. I know Rory's been pretty busy and he does a lot of that. So maybe the guys that were working on uniques have also been pulled aside to work on some other project. I guess a part of me is hoping that we're about to get a drop of something real big, like trading overhaul, or the race season is going to be amazing, or like I know they've announced some of that already, but maybe we're getting something awesome soon.
PvP tournaments and
it's all happening at once.
yes, all the stuff.
Just don't become Blizzard and do a big patch every like 5 years, or EA, same thing. I like the continual steady patch.
Yeah, I love the trickle. I think that's what ZiggyD's really got going for him, is the constant smaller updates. It makes the game feel really alive, and
keeps the
always keeps
there.
you interested.
Keeps the
I mean,
I
got a new build. I remember before I had a new build I wanted to play every 2 weeks. It wasn't even finished my other build, and I still wanted to play a new one. That was happening a lot, fueling my alcoholism. Words.
Alcoholicism. What the hell?
Alcoholicism, that one.
I know one guy who has that. Jay Myers, yes.
Well, the thing is, though, Jay Myers plays a lot of other video games, so he has a reason for making mini alts, you know.
Okay. See.
Oh, okay.
We'll go.
Anyways, hopefully they release some new content. I don't know what's coming out. I would love to see at least one new gem. They mentioned Herald of Thunder, and they even hinted at Anarchy and Stone. So hopefully those are in development. I think it's about time we go to Q&A. How do you keep a straight face, Etup? How do you keep a straight face, man?
I don't know, dude. So he's the first person I thought of. It's always rolling new characters.
So, I have some questions we can pull from. This first question, I'm like, I don't actually know. Like, I haven't even heard of this. But anyway, do any of you guys know about people using skin transfers to bring items from perm leagues to temp leagues? And obviously, is that a good or bad thing for the meta? I'm pretty sure any of us are going to say that any cross league trading into the new challenge leagues is bad. But is this actually a thing? Am I missing something here?
I actually was hoping that they would do something more along the lines of like any of like you unlock skins kind of, and then you can like reuse them. I really don't like that they spend so much time on race art, and then like you can only use it once, and people really don't even pull them out. And like once you skin it, it's gone. It's like forever in. Like if you only play new leagues, you're never gonna use it. I really wish it'd be like unlocked in your account or something, so you could skin current gear, because I really feel like the time spent developing the alternate art and race gear, like there's so many uniques in the game that aren't skinned, like you might as well get use out of them. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I mean, it shouldn't be too hard to implement something where you can only reclaim that item in its league that it was existing in, and then use the skin in other leagues. Like, I could see something like that being coded.
Yep, I would have to agree. I'm still holding my Skin Prismatic Eclipse. It's the little lightsaber one, if you guys know about it, because I don't want to get rid of it because I like it and I don't know what league to use it in. So definitely, as Etup said, having like a feature like if you unlocked it, you can permanently just use it would be awesome.
And you can only use it for 2 out of the 3 months in the league, because it takes a whole month for them to even come out. So I agree with you guys. And how many race seasons have there been? How many cool reskins are there? And they're just rotting there in that place we don't like to talk about.
So the next question, it comes in from Dr. Dringers. Add Xenocide and the rest. Do you think that Act 4 will introduce a new endgame boss replacing Ansari, and will be perhaps see levels over 100? So I guess you kick off Xeno, since you were targeted there first.
I don't think it will replace Itsuri. I think Itsuri will always be an endgame boss to achieve. I think they'll really maybe like a side grade or side boss similar to Atziri, like just a next big boss. I would like to see that. It was nice getting up to Dominus, but Palace Dominus is everything, right? But Atziri still trumps him. I don't know if they'll make a boss as big, as hyped up as Atziri was, but it would be cool. It would be cool. I really, for Act 4, I just want a lot of new content, and hopefully the mobs in Act 4 aren't nearly as annoying as the mobs in Act 3.
I think we've talked about this in the past. I'd love to see a couple versions of Atziri, or a couple maps that are like the Atziri map, where the requirements for the map kind of gate certain builds out of them, so that builds that can do Atziri can't do the other boss very well, so that people kind of make builds for different purposes.
Right.
I'd love to see something like that. So I don't know if the new act would bring that, though. I expect the new act will bring the new act's content and some normal maps. I don't expect we'll see like Atziri. I don't think they're going to make like an expansion style Atziri boss with the expansion of a new act. I think the expansion of a new act will be a focus, but I do hope the final boss for that is like super mechanical and interesting. That's what I want, is a super mechanical fight, like Val on steroids. I love the Val fight. It's pretty simple nowadays, but back when it first came out, man, that was mind blowing. That was awesome. How like just such a mechanical fight, and I'd love to see you know, that same concept captured but much more complex.
Yeah, I thought they said sometime that they wanted more fights like Atziri, like they really liked it. I don't know if I'd want it to be like kind of like how Atziri was. That was like the whole expansion. It was like Atziri, and there was like corruption, but there wasn't much more in it as far as like if you compare it to like Forsaken Masters or something.
Oh yeah.
There wasn't many people weren't seeing the majority of like I feel like what the work of the expansion was. So while it'd be cool to get some more bosses in, I don't know like how soon they want to do it, or if I would even want them to like spend like a whole expansion just on another boss or something like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Compared to Forsaken Masters, Sacrifice of the Vile, like the content it added was nowhere near as interesting. Although the Atziri fight is interesting, because yeah, it's not something everyone gets to experience really.
I just want a lot of content. A lot of content. I'd rather have a crap load of stuff to do rather than just aim for one boss with a
gimme.
and a corrupted zone. And it's seriously, it's it, content. But obviously, Act 4 will be that. I mean, I think Hedgie was mentioning that Chris said an act is over $1 million just for them to spend on. It's a crazy amount of money and time sink. It's not a cheap thing. So
yeah, I do think we underestimate that a bit from time to time.
if I was spending $1 million plus, I would want to make sure I was delivering as much content as I possibly can. There's a lot of hype behind it, things like that.
Yeah, with the new act comes a whole host of new art assets, and that's super expensive, and use voiceovers and everything like that. It will be, yeah. It will be pretty major. So if the game is doing well enough to warrant another act, then, which I think it is, like the game has hit all-time highs recently, then I'm keen for that. Someone asked whether adding new act will remove Crawl. GGG have said in the past that will be the case. Their intention is eventually to have one, kind of like one difficulty, I guess, or one playthrough where it eventually, as you move through each of the acts, the game gets harder and harder, but you don't roll through it multiple times like you do now. So we'll move back to 2. Yeah.
Did they confirm that Act 4 is going to make it good to 2? Or I know they stated that they wanted to eventually take it to 1, but I don't know if they actually...
I mean, I don't have a post I can post for you, but I'm pretty sure they've said that a few times.
Yeah. I know that's what their plans are, though, yeah.
So I expect that will happen. But maybe not. But I think, what do you guys think?
I don't know
what would work?
Yeah, I don't know what like their break point is for pushing it. I think it would be okay. I don't know. They'd have to rescale everything, obviously, but yeah.
Like, what point would your resist go down and things like that?
Well, you could just do that on the act changes would be the best point, I think.
Kind of like how that one race is Descent Champions.
Yeah, although I think if they do that, they should probably make it a little bit more obvious that some sort of change is happening. My body is undergoing these changes. It's an awkward time in my life. Pimples are sprouting in my face and my resistances are lowering. It's puberty. That's Path of Exile puberty. The resistance lowering is Path of Exile's puberty.
It's true, you know. And then drop bears spawn.
Please, you guys are like... oh my god.
For anyone who doesn't know, with the introduction of Act 4, there's going to be drop bear ninjas, where if you're sitting AFK in a town too long, they can actually steal your item that's on PoE XYZ. It's to prevent people from AFKing and shopping at the same time. So make sure you guys pay attention to that. What?
I'm about to hang up on you.
You can see the forum post. It's on there.
So mad.
Let's go to the next question. This has just got to stop.
Okay. From Shiny Wizard at all, how do you guys feel about the Summoner Exile being near impossible for melee? We talked about this a little bit in the melee section. I do think the Summoner Exile is absolutely brutal, and as a ranged character, I'm terrified of her. And then the thought of actually getting to get in there amongst her summons, it's mostly the minion instability is the problem. Like that, it just hits so hard. So yeah, I don't know how you guys feel about it. Is it possible with melee? Etup?
What was the question? Sorry.
The Summoner Exile
about
for
the
melee.
Summoner Exile.
Oh, you can definitely do it. As like a pure melee or like a Reeve or something that's a little bit of range.
And
I think on Reeve you kind of like to. I think if you're playing a dagger build, she's fine because ideally if you're by yourself, I think you just kill her so fast. You can just like you might even be able to just freeze her with hatred. So on a crit build, so it kind of eliminates the problem. But if you're on a lower damage build, then she's definitely like super scary in a party. Or maybe you're like a 5-man group and like they're like hiding, or you know you're doing most of the single target damage. You're going to be at risk way longer.
The lag on her is unreal. Like
Yeah.
I used to play on an amazingly good computer, and then I come onto this thing, and it's just like locks everything up as soon as she spawns. It's just crazy. I think that's the real problem with her. Jesus.
I got no issue with Summoner versus Summoner, so works pretty well for me.
it's fun. It's fun. Does the minion instability do any damage to your summons? I guess not.
They have
Pretty tanky.
12,000 HP. They're pretty good right now. But I definitely remember her on like my Shockwave Totem build. Sometimes with desync issues, I would place the Shockwave Totem on the left side, but really it's placing it like a little bit over. And instead of me knocking the minions away, it knocks them into my face, and then and there's definitely some really rippy moments, as Etup was saying before, like not being able to control how multi-strike works. And all of a sudden, you go from hitting in front of you to behind you, splashing on 3 mobs, having them explode, and they hit really hard. It's like a Resident, like Resident Dominus, how the mobs come and explode. They're pretty scary.
As a bow character, I just punked her and then run away.
Sissy build.
Sissy, no manliness
But
involved.
alive. But alive. Then again, Etup's level 100. on a more man mode build than me, that's for sure.
That boss is actually the scariest for Mjolnir because detonate's not a spell, so you can't spell block it. So I actually take like full damage from those things. So
Interesting.
they're pretty scary. Usually in a group, like I almost killed people when I was farming masters because it's like it spawns and I attack and they're like running up to melee and it's like boom 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 and like I almost killed 2 guys once. So I try not to actually attack.
What's the next question?
From the lob. What about a new passive that gives you a strong defense, more block, flat damage reduction, or something like that, and works only if you have a 2-handed weapon, or is it being gated behind a big 2-handed wheel? So this sounds a bit like how there's another action RPG out there that gives melee characters a flat 30% damage mitigation. It sounds a bit like that idea of giving melee some sort of extra mitigation and then gating it behind 2-handed stuff. I mean, depending on how strong it was, even if it was behind some 2-handed melee skills, I'd probably still get it, even if I was a ranged character. If it was like 30% fizz and elemental mitigation, I would probably go to get that, because that's like, I don't need to use lightning coil now, GG. So I think there's a lot of risk with something like that. It would need to...
Mechanically, 2-handers just need some sort of avoidance. And in terms of just general, it makes sense. I have this piece of wood, a staff. I can block with this tiny piece of wood. But you mean to tell me my gigantic metal 2-hander can't parry? What?
I was thinking one of the biggest issues with it is, like, how do you know where to put it in the tree? Like, now are you forcing 2-handed builds to get that node? Like, every 2-handed build has to go to that side of the tree to get that node? So I think that they have to be careful if they're going to put something in like that, because
EB all over.
yeah, that would be even like less diverse, saying like now every 2-handed build needs to get that node, so, or multiple nodes, or who, you know, not really sure.
I honestly think 2-hand could just get like a flat like 15 block, and I don't think it would hurt anything. It's just on par with everything else pretty much.
Shield.
Yeah, the shield or dual wield just gets like flat block for dual wielding. So I mean, 2-handed is like parry or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like thematic to staves that they have block, and I can kind of see that. But in the end, like, it's more important that people play and enjoy these builds. I don't think removing a bit of the theming of starves a bit would be that big a deal. I think someone right now in the chat is going to be very difficult if Hedgie's watching. Sorry, difficult, mad about this. I think Hedgie would be pretty annoyed about this idea of taking away block from starves and giving it to everything.
No,
But,
just give it to two-handers across the board, like Etup said.
No, that's what I mean,
15% is fine.
Not actually remove it.
A shield
But-
should have a higher base block, but if you just need some way to block, and then you could use your roomies, whatever the heck you else want with it. But there needs to be some sort of mitigation, because when you play a two-hander, reflect will wreck you, and then armor, things like that.
Hedgie right in the chat. So I'll move on to the next question then. From Living Tom 90, Q&A at everyone. What do you guys think about the change to cast on melee kill? So far I've seen some fun things happen out of it. I saw some fun VODs just after it was released, but I haven't seen many builds using it yet. Have you guys?
I saw one Leap Slam Discharger.
Was
Casting
it in
melee kill
the
discharge. Cleared to piety? I don't know. He didn't respect it because his computer couldn't handle the discharge. That's what I heard. So I don't know if it would have been viable. I feel like all of those builds are kind of like the Herald of Ash builds that they keep putting up in Build of the Week. Subtle shots. I feel like all of those builds in general are just not very good at killing bosses because, I mean, just the way that the skill works, you know, it doesn't, like maybe if they have mobs next to it, but every boss doesn't have mobs next to it, I don't think. So, I don't know, I just feel like that's a pretty big downside to any build like that.
Yeah. It's too reliant on getting that first kill. I don't know, mechanically it doesn't seem like... I mean, when I'm putting together a build, I don't want to rely on something like I have to get a kill for this to work. Even right now, I'm using Assassin's Mark to generate power charges, and I still kind of feel a bit iffy about that, even though it works like 90% of the time. I still kind of feel a bit weird about relying on a mechanic like that.
Yeah,
So-
curse immune maps and stuff like that.
If Detonate Dead didn't get changed, and you could use cast a melee kill Detonate Dead, you wouldn't even need to get any kind of damage. You would just scale your Leap Slam, you kill them, and then Detonate Dead the corpse you just killed, and you
Infernal Blow, cast a melee kill, detonate dead.
Then you
double explosion.
Yeah.
There's no corpses left though.
That's the point.
Well, it splashes, so if it
Yeah,
splashed,
that's
it
true.
would detonate
Kill
dead.
the other one. Chain reactions of explosions.
So if
much
you
cool.
kill the first one and then it detonates, and then it could just I
Yeah.
don't even. Oh, whatever.
Alright, next question then, from S1UG or Slug. Do you think Reflect should be changed to deal damage in flat values instead of percentage? I'm gonna say, no, we already have Lightning Thorns, don't give us another Lightning Thorns.
That's
That's
true.
like a separate mechanic. I don't want normal Reflect to be like that. It just punishes attack speed builds. That's what it does, or builds that cast fast, like exponentially, whereas a build that goes for one-shots, it doesn't punish them at all. The design of Reflect in Path of Exile is designed to put a bit of a soft cap on how much damage you can deal and make you prioritize some sort of defense instead of just killing things outright. And this would punish certain types of DPS stacking, but not all of it. Whereas I guess the current Reflect sort of punishes everything, not equally, but it does a good job of punishing everything. I don't know, how do you guys feel? Xeno, head shaky.
I'll hold off on this one.
I don't know. I mean, there'd be so many mechanic changes they have to do to make something like this, like a change like this big on like Reflect. I don't know. I feel like it'd be hard to say if they were actually going to take it this way, on how everything would turn out to actually say if it'd be good or bad.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the balance they have right now of typically one like Lightning Thorns versus attack speed and casting speed, and Reflect versus heavy hitting. I think it's pretty even as it is now. I would be terrified to walk into a map and like have to worry about Reflect, Lightning Thorns, and then like usually it's one or the other. Like you'll call it Lightning Thorns, you'll call it Reflect, but being scared of both is like, oh my goodness. So.
I do think Reflect overall is, like, we talk about Reflect a lot as a problem, but I don't really think it's a problem. There's plenty of ways of dealing with Reflect, but it's always a consideration, and I think that's the point of it. Reflect should always be a consideration for nearly every build, and but I don't think overall it's a problem. I don't really think it needs to be changed majorly. It's just sometimes more ways of dealing with it for certain builds are needed, but for the most part I feel like everyone has a way of dealing with Reflect.
I like how every build has a drawback. I really do. Like Incinerate, you do a shitload of damage, but then you get Corrupting Blood and Lightning Thorns, and you need to prepare yourself for that. It's just what's to be expected with each build.
What's the counter to a summoner? Stupid AI?
What's the disadvantage to the summoner?
Squishy. You can get hit eventually and just die instantly.
9.3k damage, for example, or whatever the hell it was, Pop.
Chain maps. Chain maps are a good counter to summoners, but you just don't have to. You just don't run them.
The Incinerator con actually reminded me of something. I wish that like CB would be kind of standardized, unless like one mob has like no damage, you like out regen it with just regen, and then the next mob is like the most insane thing you've ever seen, like 4k damage a second from like one stack.
Like a Sub-Fizz Devour. Oh,
yeah, I wish they'd be more standardized so it's less like super spiky differences in the CB. I've never really liked the mechanic, and I think it's more annoying to me probably because I'm a streamer and stuff. But like looking at chat and it's like I can't actually attack a Mjolnir without looking at the screen because I can die within a second or two if I'm not paying attention. So.
Oh, you mean desync, but yeah. Got you.
This is from the Fiend.
Corrupting Blood's a desync death, okay? Please, people.
The Fiend didn't know what CB was, and when he just randomly died, he blamed desync. He's like, I was desync, look.
Yeah, the zombie.
So.
Oh no, oh no.
Thank you for being the in-joke explainer, Pox. There's always people who don't understand.
No problem.
I actually know what he's talking. I just didn't get it at the time. I was like, what?
Please.
Okay, next question. By the way, you guys in chat, if you have questions, type at all or at whoever, and then ask the question, and we'll copy and paste it in. Like someone just did, and I'm doing now. So the next question then is, what at all from Bonham Knox? What are your dreams for Act 4? We talked a little bit about Act 4. My personal dreams are of white snow-capped mountains and mechanical bosses. That's everything I want from the new Act, mostly. But otherwise, lots of content. But what do you guys reckon? What do you guys want to see from Act 4?
Mount a Roa. I want mobs to be able to mount Roas. It's
Roa racing.
It's very important because it's going to be like something completely new that you would never imagine. A Roa
Exile cart.
Yeah. What about an Exile riding a Roa? How crazy would that be?
Path of Exile needs people keep talking about this racing in Path of Exile, but I never see any like riding of Roas or race cars. What is this racing people talk of? Let's get some actual racing going on.
What I'd like to see in Act 4 is some different variations of weapons. I've talked about one-handed crossbows. I'd like to see those. Some sort of one-handed bow variant. As well as polearms is a very popular thing people would like. Right now, bows and staves are just not bows and staves. There's not enough variation between the two. I'd like to see some more things like that. And I'd like to see some more spells get tuned, like Lightning Strike and Arctic Breath, for example. Some way they could change that whole mechanic where it travels on the ground, or just some new spells in general. And the thing I want them to fix the most for Act 4 would be the game engine. Playing on an older computer, I've never realized how inefficient the game engine is. I could play a game that looks better, has usual higher system requirements, and it looks pretty, it works great. But in Path of Exile, I walk by Tora's Fire and my computer freezes for 5 seconds. Like, what? You know, things like that. I think that they need to better optimize their game engine. Shocking Ground, it looks mediocre at best, but it lags you into oblivion. Burning Ground, same thing. I would like to see some game engine getting fixed as well.
I do think we're getting very close to the point where they'll need to go back and do some overhauling or
yeah. Forsaken Masters caused a lot of FPS issues for people.
With any long-running game, it's like every couple of years or every now and then they have to go back and re-optimize things and redo some of the older content and stuff like that. So I do think we're getting to that point. The game's been out for like, what, over 2 years now? And I think, and I don't think there's been many optimizations. Well, there's been like lots of small optimizations throughout. Like ZiggyD are not working on this, but I mean like maybe some major overhauls. It's been never since that has happened, and including like closed beta and everything.
On a legitimate side note, something I do actually want to see, I don't know if they'll add it, is not more variety to monsters, but more variety to the buffs that they have, to see if there's something else they're going to have. Cause,
more auras and stuff?
Yeah, like we all have our standard, like, oh my god, that's substantial physical Roa, you know, that's a powerful crits Roa, that's a hasted shield charger. We already know all of this stuff, but having it like an extra mod or something else that we don't know of, like, like mana leech. On the tree, there's a node that prevents mana leech, but I don't think there's anything that leeches mana from you. And I think that'd be just really interesting. For example, if a mob can just drain your mana, and you're a Mind Over Matter build, and you're losing 300-400 mana a second while getting damage to your life pool. Just little things that I think are the unexpected stuff that you don't expect, and then you play it and then you die, and you're like, wow, what was that? So.
It sounds got truth. Once you learn the mechanic, you learn the mechanic. But I expect that with new monsters. I would assume that with new monsters, hopefully they come out with new specters too, not the specter. That would be interesting.
So,
Etup, what do you think?
Oh, sorry. You go ahead.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't have anything in particular. I think new weapons would be kind of cool, or just new weapons with like new cool gems that maybe aren't like anything we have right now. But other than that, snow zones, yeah. I don't know. I love snow zones, so I'd be happy with that.
Just like in Diablo 2, the snow zone, man.
Yes.
Don't forget.
Guys, I just got some info from Rory. You ready? You ready?
Herald of Thunder?
ready.
Get the hell out.
Oh shit, yeah.
Herald of
ZiggyD
Jumpers.
provides. We have. All I can really say is that Herald of Thunder is coming, and a skill called Lightning Touch is also in the works, with the name subject to change. Yeah.
I knew Herald of Thunder. It was coming. It just had to be.
Lightning touch.
Lightning
Touch and Herald of Thunder
Melee
becomes
spell?
the revamp of Lightning we've been waiting for, guys.
This is the
What
touch
the hell
of
is
God.
Lightning Touch? What do you guys think?
It's
Chain
John.
lightning.
The hand
but
of
melee.
of God.
I think it's a melee chain lightning. You touch them and then they shoot out like a chain or something. Something
We don't
crazy.
have touch spells. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I love the idea of touch spells in like D&D and stuff like that, where something's so powerful but doesn't have range. You have to actually get up and physically. I mean, I hate melee, but that'd be cool to see. Something, yeah, that could be cool. That could be cool. The chat's saying touch of God. I'm with you guys. Touch of God.
Oh, man. Hopefully it's not, like
baby.
Etup said, another mechanic where it's like, converts your damage into lightning. And I would
Yeah.
prefer, like, physical, and then it shoots out lightning afterward.
If
based
it's
on the
Touch of
damage you
God, next week after that better be Val Smash. That's what I'm saying.
do. Oh, yes.
Just this like massive thing appears from
Yeah,
your
that's
head.
your new two-hand viable. Just one-shot every monster. Just got a Immortal Call.
That'd be a good
Reflect,
boss skill,
boys.
I reckon. Just a massive turns your thing into like a Val arm and just
Val
slam
Heavy
it.
Strike. Yeah, there you go.
Val Heavy Strike. There you go. Perfect. I love that. Needs to
Wow.
happen. I'll pay that. Yeah.
Thank you,
So
Rory.
for you guys, they did talk about in the past what Herald of Lightning will be. Last time they were working on it, they said it was going to be basically Storm Herald. So a Storm Herald for the player. So I can see that being annoying, but we'll see how it works out. Like constant as you're walking around.
Can't wait to lag.
I wouldn't have you in my party. It could be interesting though.
I thought they said it would be like a buff type mechanic where you could stack it up over time. They said they wanted to try to do that to encourage player to keep it rolling. I thought they mentioned something like that, or was that the initial? I don't know.
I think they were talking about that. They said that they don't. They said they want to keep momentum going of the constant killing of monsters to charge up skills. They said they really like the Vol ideas and whatnot.
Exactly. And then this new, what does he call it? Lightning touch. Lightning touch.
Yeah, he said Lightning Touch, but the name is subject to change. Lightning Touch. Yep. Skill. It says a skill called Lightning Touch.
Any ETA? Rory, please.
No,
Thank
but,
you, but please.
I think this might be very soon. So it sounds like very soon, based on his wording.
Man.
So it might be next patch. Might be next
Confirmed
patch.
tomorrow.
Confirmed
Confirmed.
tomorrow. Confirmed later today.
That's a Monday. Oh wait, that is Monday for them, isn't it? So
Yeah.
tonight, it's happening.
It's happening
Oh,
tonight.
shit.
RMT confirmed.
Maybe
It's
next
done.
week then.
Swipe the credit card, boys. Lightning touch.
Everyone swipes their credit cards at once. We can get this happening.
All right. What's the next question?
Okay, he was a really good question from Urka Gaming. Do you think that in Act 4 there will be 130 passives instead of 120? And if yes, how is that going to be balanced in your opinion? So this is actually one of the points that make me believe the new Act will reduce the difficulty. What I think they'll do, and I don't know if they've mentioned this in the past, but at least I think this is what's going to happen, is they'll remove a difficulty and then put those respecs and passives in the new Act. So that'll keep us not going over to 130 passives, because they're not going to give us more passives. I don't see that ever happening.
More
or
passives.
multiples. Yeah.
That's actually a really good point. I didn't even think of that.
So I think that is, for me, like confirming that they'll remove the difficulty when they add the new act. That just works so well, I think.
there 120 will be the always. At least I would like to hope it would always be the highest you can go, and at some point in time, the only hard thing is going to be. Usually when you kill Dominus, you're like, zombies again and Roas. I could deal with this. But now it's just an extra act. So let's say you go into Act 4 and now it's -20 and the mobs are much harder than your zombies in Cruel. What are you going to expect? It's going to be a different playstyle for sure.
I'm super excited. I want all this now.
I think it'd be interesting. Usually the hard point is like the end of Cruel is like the hardest part of like leveling up. And I wonder where that's gonna get pushed to, like the point, like maybe I don't know, like Dominus or like Cruel Dominus would be way later on. Like you go Cruel Dominus and you're in Act 4, and then you're gonna do Lab in that zone. So it'd be interesting to see where the really like hard part is. Maybe you get to Cruel and then it's pretty easy from there on out. I don't know.
Yeah, someone in chat said we'll have to kill Merciless Dominus now. Oh my god.
Oh, that's right.
Will they give us a rare 66 map, or will they give us something better for him at least?
Yeah.
Time to sell Merciless Dom, boys.
We'll actually have to kill Merciless Dominus. There you
Huh.
go. Someone actually bought a Merc Dom kill off me recently. I guess they really wanted that 66 map. Paid me a chaos for it.
Achievement.
I guess so. Achievement.
Yeah, achievement.
Makes sense. Okay. Next question is this one's from Machiavelli Tito. And at Etup, what do you think about Valpact? Valpact is pure. I think he means that it's bad and very hard to be able to work with builds, especially CI casters. What do you think about it should change? And to top it off, we'll just start with that one. What do you think about Valpact?
I feel like on CI, I mean, like CI obviously got nerfed with Valpact because I mean they were getting 100% before, and now it's only 40. So most like casters that are playing like huge crit aren't even going CI. If they're going that, they're going like low life or something. But I'd say most casters are just going HP Valpact, and it's like working perfectly fine to negate Reflect. But as far as like a CI caster, yeah, they do get penalized because it is pretty much the same thing, but you're required to get it, and it doesn't benefit you because of the pathing unless you go around the world through the Templar section all the way down. I mean, you're just hitting like pure strength nodes. Unless you're a fire build, you don't really gain access to anything. So it's a really bad position for a CI caster to go and pick up Valpacts, and you like have to have it to play crit. So I think as far as like a CI like physical build, I don't think it messed with them too much. But on a caster, yeah, they definitely got hurt a lot with that. You don't see like any CI casters really.
It used to be played all the time in Onslaught, not anymore. It's because they changed Leech, I think, is the big reason.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're gonna like if you don't socket Leech, like you probably have to socket Leech with Valpact. So.
No, what is it?
That
40% effectiveness is pretty much.
Yeah, like you can't rely on like a 1% or 2% in your gear, or even 3. Like 40% of that is pretty much nothing. So.
So the other question that was kind of a follow-up to the previous one about the Act 4 was, what about the bandit rewards when they remove one difficulty? That's from Olympsan. That's a good question. I don't actually know what they'll do with that. What do you guys reckon they could do with the bandit quest?
They'll probably incorporate
you'd go
it
from
into the
3
game
to
somehow.
2.
You'd go 3
maybe.
to 2, but maybe they'll release like 2 separate type bandit reward quests. I'm sure they'll figure out a way to do it without them giving you passive points. They're crafty with that kind of stuff.
If they added another choice style quest to Act 4, that'd be cool, firstly. But secondly, it would mean that they would add one to fill up the one removed, and then add another one, which I don't think would be a bad thing. I don't think it would be game-breaking to add another interesting sort of choice in there.
You can't get a passive point out of it or something. I'm sure they'll figure out a way to do it.
Yeah, remove the passive point from somewhere, add it to the new choice quest or something. I'm sure they can figure it out.
I feel like normal is definitely the weakest bandits. Like I mean, mana and all res, no one takes those. So it's really the HP that you'd be losing or skill points. So I could definitely see them scrapping the normal bandits and leaving the other two as choices.
They could just flat out remove it. Yeah, we'd all lose 40 flat HP. Maybe they could work it in somewhere else.
Yeah,
another quest randomly. Because that's the only one we take. Yeah, they could give us a quest that just gave us 40 HP and it wouldn't change anything.
This might be a bit OP, but I remember someone saying in my chat they can change the normal one to give you +1 of a certain resistance. And I think that would be +1 to max of a certain resistance. And I was like, with the removal of the +4 overall in the tree, that actually isn't the worst idea in the round. You know, Lear would give you +1 lightning, Crane +1 cold, and O +1 fire to max res. Obviously, if you're going RF, you want the fire, but things like that. It could be OP, but it could be balanced. Who knows?
I don't think they should do that just because, for a new player's sake, it would be very hard for them to determine what resist they want.
But that's
Like-
everything in this game for a new player's sake.
Well, not really. If you think about the normal, like, if you're HP, you can use HP. I mean, it's HP, resistance still is okay, but I mean, like, with the plus max resist, like, it's pretty huge. Like, what if you decide to change your element later on? You have the wrong resist. I don't know. I mean, I think that would be just like 20 regret orbs. So I don't know. I mean, that's just my opinion on it. I'm not saying yes or no. It's just what I would say.
I don't think that'd be too big a deal. I don't know if they'd had more max resist, and I think they removed those for the reason that it was too difficult for them to balance around, and they wanted to reduce reliance on that. So I don't see it coming back in the form of a quest or anything.
Let me rephrase it. It's not specific to normal. It's just a replacement of a reward. It could be in any league or any difficulty, anything. Just an option to have +1 res at all times.
Okay,
That's
that's
what I put
fine.
charges
That's
last.
what I meant.
That's okay.
Like,
I
come on,
thought
why
you
would I make
meant,
it
like,
specific to normal? Who cares about normal?
Well, I thought you meant like because if you don't do the bandits, you can't kill Vol because you don't get the apex. So forcing yourself to make a decision before Vol at normal at difficulty for +1 max res.
No,
is
no,
what I
just a replacement overall.
I think that's fair enough.
Yeah, and if you got the max res at low levels, you wouldn't even notice it
But
anyway.
I don't see them doing that because
What?
they distinctively spoke about how there's already so much mitigation you can obtain, and they don't want to add max resistance to the tree or allow it. So I don't see that happening.
So a few people have asked about cast when damage taken, Corsica and Miracle Nip. So the question here is, do you think GGG will realize cast when damage taken was a bad call and remove it from future leagues? That's a bit of a loaded question, bro. You should be a journalist. It's pretty much mandatory, and game is getting balanced around everybody using it with a mortal call. So basically, what do you guys think about like cast when damage taken and how in use it is?
Me personally, I almost actually never use cast when damage taken. I can understand it's very clutch at a lot of times, but it can go backwards at the same time. Like currently in my summoner, I don't use it. In my shockwave totem for a while, I didn't use it because I think at times it's more important to maintain your endurance charges than to have them expend and go to a mortal call. It goes both ways. Like it's not bad by any means. It's great to have in a mortal call setup, but it's also not required. Like I've had maybe one death my entire time playing PoE because I didn't have a cast when damage taken a mortal call. But just like walking around and manually casting Enduring Cry is an insane amount of mitigation in itself.
I don't think it's mandatory by any stretch. I think, and it's very gem hungry at that as well. And sometimes it only has a very small impact. I mean, I use it as an evasion character, but a lot of the time I feel like cast damage taken a mortal call isn't even useful on an evasion character, like as a bow character at least, because I'm far away and the enduring cry isn't getting charges, so the mortal call isn't working because of that range between me and mobs. So I don't know. Overall, I think a lot of builds can do without it, and I think a lot of high-level players don't use it and favor the skill gem slots for another thing. I kind of like cast when damage taken, though. I love that they added a bit of automation in there of what was essentially some tedious things of certain builds. So it's not as strong as manually casting Enduring Cry or Immortal Call, and I think that's pretty well balanced in that regard. But it does remove some of the tedium if you want to.
Yeah, I think Pox is right. I think people really like stop self-casting Enduring Cry, and it's something we should maybe do more often now. Like it's really like easy with Echo, and we all used to like self-cast Enduring Cry in every build, like back in the day. But I kind of feel like I didn't think cast damage taken was that good, which is why I wasn't using it, like I was saying. But after like using it on some characters, it's kind of ridiculous. Like there's no point in ever going an armor build when you can just go like phase aggro, block, 0 armor, like a pure like fizz damage or fizz crit build, and you won't kill yourself just because of like a mortal call just procs instantly, and you're 100% safe for like 5-6 seconds, and I don't know.
You're talking about if you keep up your endurance charges all the time when you finally take that.
No, I mean like just with it like in your links, cast damage taken Enduring Cry. I'd say like I think self-casting Enduring Cry is really strong, but this is like another point. Like
Okay.
I think cast damage taken Immortal Call is just it's pretty ridiculous for any like physical build. It completely like negates Fizz Reflect completely, and like you don't need to do anything. Just put it in, you're good. And as far as like damage, like defense, I feel like it's really strong. And for like just the links, like sure, like some builds like summoners and stuff, the links are super important, and they might not be like running it, but pretty much any other build, I feel like you should run it. If you don't, it's worse for your character.
Well, I think that's about wraps everything up. Etup, thanks a lot for coming by, man. I think you did an awesome job with this podcast, and again, grants for hitting level 100 first. It's huge, and it is warranted. I mean, that Nemesis, we were all expecting you to do it. I mean, before I was even streaming, I was watching you. I was like, this guy's gonna do it. So I'm glad you ended up getting it.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, man. Good. Sorry about the few technical difficulties, guys, but we got it.
You will not be on the next podcast, I guess.
Robotup next to Moat. Here we go.
Yeah.
Etup's voice is too strong, DDoSing. Side.
Stay tuned, everybody. We're going to be giving out some MTX. We have 11 MTX to give out. We're giving 2 MTX to Etup. So Etup will give them out however he chooses to. If he wants to give them out on the stream, he can. If he wants to give them out on his own free will, he can do whatever he wants with them. We also want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Thanks a lot, guys, for putting up the technical difficulties. I know there's a pain in the butt, but I do appreciate you guys sticking around for it. I want to talk about Angry AA real quick. We don't dislike him by any means. We love the dude. We still go by his channel quite a bit. He ended up sleeping through the podcast. He slept through the last podcast. And yes, of course, I want him back. Ziggy, Pox, we have no ill will against the guy at all. He just slept through it. Unfortunately, we had Etup already booked for this one and Gouda, so screw those two.
We book a few weeks in advance, so we'll have Angry A on again after we have a next free slot. But yeah, man, I love the guy. As if I feel bad for him mostly because I know he's super excited to be on the podcast and then slept through his alarm, so I kind of feel bad for him mostly. But we had Gazzy, it was fun.
But yes, obviously we had Etup already slotted, and then I asked Gouda right before the podcast started last week, so Gouda will be on next week. He'll be on episode 18. So I wanted to make sure these guys met their they were already slotted. I'm not going to be like, well, Angry, you could come along for the ride on this one, because these guys already had their own episode set up. So Angry, I can always invite him again for episode 19. I'll bring along Grissig, Hoffel, Jay Meyer, CK French, all those guys along too. I know they need a spot in that podcast.
I think that'd be a
jam-packed full of emotes.
12-person podcast.
Before we go, I gotta give a shout out to the Smorks. They wanted a shout out. We gave them a shout out.
Do it.
That was the shout out. That was it. Shout out to the Smorks.
I was expecting something more epic. Sorry. I should lower my expectations a little.
Yes.
Where can people find you, by the way, Etup? I feel like we need to give guests a chance to say.
Twitch.tv Etup. I'm not running YouTube or Twitter or anything yet, but maybe one day when I stop being lazy.
Go watch him be a badass, guys.
If you want to watch Etup's endgame pro level play, it's right there, twitch.tv/Etup. You can check him out there. ZiggyD is twitch.tv/ZiggyD Live. Pox is just as his name is displays, and you're already in my channel. Also, these guys have YouTubes. You should check them out. Etup always delivers, though, on good endgame content and credit card swiping. I promise.
Yes. Send me your credit card. I will swipe it.
So I think this concludes everything. Thanks a lot, guys, for tuning in. We appreciate it. Stay tuned for some MTX giveaways, and we're out.
Cheers. That was awesome. Ba-dum-bum-bum-bum.